HOA razed my lake house, so I cut off water to their 2,000 cow ranch. Tom stared at the smoldering ruins of his lake house, the place where he'd scattered his wife's ashes 2 years ago. The HOA had done this, Karen and her committee, with their endless rules and petty power trips. They claimed the house violated community standards, too rustic for their gated vision of perfection. They didn't just fine him, they razed it to the ground, citing some obscure bylaw. The ashes of his memories, of his Ellen, were now dust in the wind. His heart burned hotter than the embers before him. The lake was his sanctuary, a small plot his grandfather left him, far from the city's clamor. Tom built the house himself, plank by plank, with Ellen laughing beside him, her hands calloused but warm. It was their dream, a quiet life by the water, away from the world. But the HOA, led by Karen, had other plans. She moved in 5 years ago, turning the once-free lakeside into a manicured prison of conformity. No unapproved docks, no wildflowers, no eyesore cabins like Tom's. When he refused to comply, they sent bulldozers. Karen stood by her SUV, clipboard in hand, her lips pursed as she surveyed the wreckage. "It had to be done, Tom," she said, her voice clipped. "You knew the rules." Tom clenched his fists, the wrench in his pocket heavy with intent. He didn't respond. Words wouldn't rebuild his home, but he had a plan. The ranch was the HOA's pride, a 2,000 cow operation that funded their pristine community. It relied on a single water Sauersee pipeline Tom controlled. His grandfather's land included water rights, a detail the HOA overlooked when they welcomed the ranch's owner, a slick developer named Mitch. Tom had never used his power before, but rage changes a man. That night, under a starless sky, he hiked to the valve station, his boots crunching on gravel. With one turn of the wrench, he cut the flow. The ranch would dry up, and so would their empire. Days passed, and the ranch began to suffer. Cows bellowed in distress, their troughs empty. Mitch stormed to Tom's trailer, red-faced and shouting. "You're killing my livestock," he roared. Tom leaned against the doorframe, calm as stone. "You killed my home," he said. "Fair's fair." Mitch threatened lawsuits, but Tom knew the law. His water rights were ironclad. Karen showed up next, pleading, her composure cracking. "This affects everyone, Tom. Families, workers, the community." He stared past her, to the lake where Ellen's laughter once echoed. "You should have thought of that before you burned my life down." The community turned on him. Neighbors who'd once waved now spat his name. Signs went up, "Save our ranch." At the HOA meeting, Karen rallied the crowd, painting Tom as a villain. But then came the twist. A soft-spoken woman named Lila stood up. She was Mitch's assistant, barely noticed, always in the background. "I found something," she said, her voice trembling. She held up documents, emails between Karen and Mitch. They'd planned to raise Tom's house not for bylaws, but to clear land for a luxury condo project. The HOA's standards were a lie. It was about profit. The room erupted in gasps and shouts. Lila, shaking but resolute, revealed she'd been pressured to stay silent, but couldn't live with the guilt. The revelation shattered the HOA's unity. Some demanded Karen's resignation. Others defended her, clinging to their perfect community. Tom sat in the back, silent, his anger now mixed with a strange pity. Lila's courage had exposed the rot, but it didn't bring his house back. He left the meeting, the weight of his actions heavier than ever. Weeks later, the ranch was failing. Cows died, and the community reeled. Tom could have turned the water back on, but he didn't. Not out of spite, but because he had nothing left to give. He sat by the lake, staring at the water, whispering to Ellen. "I did it for you," he said, but the words felt hollow. The ranch's collapse hurt innocent workers, families, even Lila, who lost her job after her whistleblowing. Tom's vengeance had rippled too far. One morning, Karen appeared at his trailer, no clipboard, no blazer. Just a woman, broken. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "I didn't know what it meant to you." Tom looked at her, seeing not a tyrant but someone caught in their own web of ambition. He nodded, unable to forgive but too tired to hate. That night, he turned the water back on. Not for Karen, not for Mitch, but for the cows, the workers, the community he'd unintentionally punished. The ranch would recover, but his lake house was gone forever. Tom packed his trailer and left the lake for good. The water shimmered behind him, indifferent to his loss. He drove into the dawn, carrying the weight of his choices and the ghost of Ellen's smile. The HOA would rebuild, but he never would. Some wounds don't heal. They just scar. What would you have done in Tom's place? Was his vengeance justified? Or did it go too far, hurting those who didn't deserve it?